So it is 9 p.m. in Djibouti. It's time to English New Edition. For tonight headlines we have Prime Minister and the acting head of government receives German ambassador in his cabinet. Concerning international scene, tensions the day D concerns of repatriations of Rohingya in Burma. Welcome to our newsrooms. Following the adoption by the Security Councils of the resolutions 2444 of 14 November 2018, the government of the Republic of Djibouti welcomes the decisions to lift the sanctions against Eritrea. Likewise, the government of the Republic welcomes the explicit conservations by the resolutions of the Republic of Djibouti with regard to the settlement of conflicts with Eritrea. In this regard, the government of the Republic of Djibouti, through this communications, wish to express its gratitude to its friends who are members of the Security Council, who have amply reflected our concerns during the resolutions. For the national scene, the Prime Ministers and acting head of government, Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, receives this Thursday, November 14, in the Hall of the Honors of the Prime Minister, Ms. Anke Holstein's new ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany. This first contact, held in the presence of the Prime Minister, technical advisors Ali Silai, focuses on bilateral cooperation between the two countries. The Prime Minister welcomed the German ambassador and recalled the historical links between Germany and Djibouti that dates back to the early 80s. At the time, he said the cooperation in the field of water has been successful. We must relaunch the dynamism of our bilateral cooperation to restore its former glory, judged the Prime Minister, speaking His Excellency Ms. Anke Holstein first thanked the Prime Minister for her courtesy welcomes to the home. She wished to share her satisfaction with the warm welcome of the Djiboutians. The diplomat added that she already knew the examples of Djibouti in hosting refugees and realized how impressive in the ways in which the Republic of Djibouti has met these challenges. In this regard, Prime Minister has indicated that these challenges has been presented to us since the first months of our independence, when we installed in the regions of Ali Ad, the refugee fleeing the war at that time. Today, these camps still exist, not to mention the very large flooding population is mostly Ethiopians, which is such as a continuous flow past through Djibouti to join the Arabian Peninsula despite the war in Yemen. The transhumance period can stretch for many years. Very often, regarding the bilateral cooperation between the two countries, the German diplomat is in line with the words of the Prime Minister, assuring that there is much to be done and that Germany recognizes the leading role that Djibouti plays through its contribution to the peace and development of these regions of geostrategic interest. The Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Mustafa Mohamed Mahmoud, today led the works of endorsement meeting of the Education Action Plan for the period 2017-2020. The meeting saw a strong participation of the local groups of education partners, namely the Ambassador of France, Japan, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, as well as representatives of the international organizations such as UNICEF, UNHCR, UNDP. The meeting began with a welcome message from the ministers, who expressed his sincere thanks to all the partners for their invaluable collaboration in the development of the strategic documents and the consistency on indispensable financial support for the improvement of the national education system. The minister then recalled the purpose of the meetings, which consists of the final endorsement of the 2017-2020 Education Action Plan. that marks the end of the master's plan 2010-2019 and also addresses the master's plans 2020-2035 as a master plans that coincides with our ambitious transformations project for the Djiboutian schools. The Minister of Mustafa Mohamed Mahmoud, they reported new EAP which aims to increase access at primary years by 2020, expand this equitable access, increasing the quality of learning, the development of the technical education and vocational training, and improvement management with the implementation of the results-based management. The Minister's intervention was followed by a presentation on the main lines of the EAP and all the activities of the budget allocated to each of them. The presentation gave rise to discussions and reflections around the main priorities of the EAP and its characters as ambitious. At the end of the meetings, the Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, Mustafa Mohamed Mahmoud, and the partners initiate the endorsement document of the 2017-2020. Yesterday, after the official discussions placed in the parallel discussions of the 10 the digital skills of human capital, there was talk of the preparing use for the digital age and the quantum's leap for the next generation. There has been talk of integrating digital into the schools so that these young people can better absorb the new parameter of digital world under constructions today. Stakeholders all pointed out that it was important to put the human capitals in the digital leap, starting with young people in STEAM courses in sciences, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The digital era, the digitalization is of the economy, artificial intelligence, globalization is of all factors that jointly the world is. In this case, the natures and contents of trade they said these are called to evolve further. It is important to know that the world is changing. Globalization is climate concern, technology advances. Several parameters have placed the world in a silent revolutions and put the world on a work in a mutations by digitals. The panelists emphasized that a large numbers of the professions are impacted, new professions appear, and other professions will still appear tomorrow. For his part, the Minister of Communications, Abdi Yusuf Suge, thanked all the participants to this important event. He emphasized that this kind of meeting will continue, he assured. The Minister of Women and Family, Ms. Mumina Ahmed Hassan, had the head of the strong delegation, took part in the conferences on global equity and competitiveness and interactions dialogue on the evaluations of the effectiveness of women's participation in public life, presided by Her Royal Highness Princess Sabika Binti Ibrahim Al Khalifa, First Lady of the country, held from 14th to 15 November 2018 at Bahrain. The conference will focus on the role of women in decisions making and its effect on national competitiveness, the consequences of investing in just, equitable and peaceful society, and recognizing the role of women as human capital and the impact of governance and competitive development. This conference will take stock of the progress made in implementing best practices to strengthen women's participation and representation at the national level. Welcome on arrivals by the Secretary Generals of the Council, the supreme margins of the conference. Ministers met Her Royal Highness Princess Sabika Bint Ibrahim Al Khalifa. About the workers of the port, it was questions Hearst Stekenpesky Palace Hotel Horizon Djibouti celebrate obtaining the certification is called attesting the good quality of the services of harbor entities. These ISO certifications are registered after rigorous inspections of the Lloyd's Register Quality Assurance, which is the world's leading providers of independent appraisal service. Djibouti's terminal origin, its staff and management are back to the fore. Indeed, these port entities specialize in the loadings and the storage of the fuel, regularly undergoes an international control in order to certify the qualities of its services. The Institute for the Institute, in collaboration with the European Union, organized this morning the closing ceremony of the presentations of certificate of the seminar, which of international trade and its impact on escape and the role that must play donor and donors present at this seminar were the director of the Institute of Diplomatic Study, the ambassador of the European Union, Mr. Adam Kulak, the ambassador of France, and the ambassador of China, representative of resident of the UNDP, experts, and representative of different public and private institutions related to the issue of trade and regional integration. This seminar, which will last from 11th to 15th of this month, has as main objectives to impregnate the participant the big questions of the regional integration, to give a global vision, but also a structured approach of the elements necessary for their decisions making, and give them a better view on issue relating to regional economic integration between decisions maker, senior managers, and economic operators. At the end of this seminar, the presentations of certificate and appreciations was distributed to the participants of this seminar, which focused on the challenges of international trade and its impact on escape and the role that donors must play. On the sidelines of the closings of 1232 sessions of the administrative councils of the city of Djibouti, the mayor of the city of Hargeisa, Abdurrahman Aidid, accompanied by the consuls of Djibouti in Somaliland, His Excellency Hussein Omar Kawaliye, closed his towers by visiting the headquarters of the National Associations of Local Authorities of Djibouti, located at Gabot 4 in the afternoons of November 13, 2018. It was welcomed by the mayor of the city, Ms. Fatuma Awal Osman, also president of the ANCLD, the member of the executive board, the permanent secretary, and the experts consultant, and of the International Associations of Francophone Mayors. The permanent secretary of the association is Mr. Mahmoud Ali Abdullahi, offered the mayors of Hargeisa a guided visit of the headquarters and the presentations of the association and its project. The mayor of Hargeisa indicated that there is also in Somaliland a National Associations of Local Authority, of which he is the president. The discussion is focused on ways and means of timing between the two associations. The mayor of Hargeisa there signed the guest book. A reception ceremony for a large batch of materials and equipment took place today at the Central Directorate of the Coast Guard of the Djiboutian Coast Guard. The ceremony took place in the presence of His Excellency Mr. Koji Yonitani, Ambassador of Japan to Djibouti, Mrs. Lanini Verasamy, head of the missions of the IOM Djibouti, and Colonel Wais Omar Bogore, commanders of the Djiboutian Coast Guard. These donations from the Japanese people through the financing of the project implemented by International Organization for Migrations in Djibouti is composed tents and beds. Plus, the handed overs of this equipment aim to strengthen the capacity of humanitarian assistance for the benefit of the migrants in distresses at sea that leads the Djiboutian Coast Guard. This is an honorable international organizations for migration initiative in Djibouti, which through the delivery of these donations help to strengthen the means of reception of migrants in distress at sea who must be treated with dignity and humanity. The commanders of the Djiboutian Coast Guard, Colonel Wais Omar Bogore, congratulated the great peoples of Japan and the organizations of the International Organization for Migration for their unfailing support and their determination is to strengthen the capacity of the Djibouti Coast Guard to face the scourges of immigrations. Finally, the commanders of the Djiboutian Coast Guard sent unequivocal thanks to the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Margele, for the privileged importance that is carries to the evolutions of the Djiboutian Coast Guard, but also of the unconditional and unfailing support that he has been with us since the creation of our institution, and justifies the dazzling development achieved in a so short a time by the Djiboutian Coast Guard. November 14, 2018, at 8 hours, a military closing ceremony of parascoping the patent of 13 gendarmes at the Gendarmerie Mobile Interventions platoons was held before the State Majors Joint Forces of the French forces stationed in Djibouti. Colonel Zakaria Hassan Aden, Chief of the Staff of the Gendarmerie, was present alongside Captain Philippe Vautrin, number 2 of the French forces in Djibouti. These patients surrounders closed 2 weeks of instructions from October 28 to November 14, 2018. Trainees completed the first phase consisting of physical fitness tests consisting of the push-up leg curls, abdominals, ramp climbing, running, and walking timed with an 11 kilograms bag on the back. These parachutist trainees then followed a phase of technical ground instructions provided within the 5th Joint Overseas Regiment and Air Bases 888. The Djibouti Socialist Development Agency organized yesterday, Wednesday, November 14, 2018, a sensitization workshop in the framework of the project Solid Wastes Management funding by the French Development Agency, which took place at the Center Bandar Jadid in the presence of the Directorate Social Development, Mr. Diri Farah Sudan, representative of the various associations and local elected representative. The objective of this project is to improve the living environment of the local population and reduce relative and extreme poverty at national management of solid wastes. The project will create formal and sustainable jobs in the solid waste management sector, improving sorting and recycling with job creation, and finally create a buildings materials manufacturing sector from of plastics was set up. Indeed, the government deploys significant resources to supervise and support the changes that our capital is facing, particularly with the regards of the issues of solid waste management. Our capital produces 300 tons of household waste daily, which is important to collect, transport, store, and process. This immense task is up to the OVD, which is hard at work day and night to fulfill its duty. Thus, the project plans to build 7 points of consolidations, protect the environment and improve the living environment began in 2014. The solid waste management project, financed by the French Development Agency for 6 million euro is implemented by the Office of Highways of Djibouti with the support of the Djiboutian Agency for the Social Development. We have a press release. Mr. Awale Abdi Gire, whom you see on the picture, his patient is psychiatric, is sought by his family. Mr. Awale is suffering from depression. He is 1 meter 16 tall and robust with white hairs. Anyone who can meet him is asked to report is to the police and telephones 77857575141. Concerning international scene, Bangladesh is due to launch on Thursday, November 15th, the repatriation operation to the neighboring Burma of hundreds of thousands of Rohingya, a Muslim minority discriminated against and considered stateless by the Burmese authority, having fled what the UN describes as genocide. After several delays, Bangladesh announced at the end of October that it would launch on Thursdays under an agreement with Burma the repatriation of the first group of 2,000 refugees at the rate of 115 people per day, and this for the greatest concerns of the international organizations. On November 13, the UN asked to stop the operation, saying the conditions were not met due to the risks of persecutions. According to another Rohingya official, Abdul Rahim, among the 2,000 refugees whose names are on the lists, 19% have fled for fears of forcible repatriations. Since August 2017, more than 700,000 Rohingya have fled the violence of the Burmese army as well as Buddhist militia and have fled to Bangladesh. They have joined some 300,000 other members of the Muslim minority already living in the camp of the southeast of the countries after previous waves of violence. And to close up this edition, the British government is falling apart. No less than 4 ministers announced their resignations one after another this Thursday morning. They strongly denounced the agreement concluded with Brussels on the modalities of exit of the United Kingdom from the European Union. A heavyweight Dominic Raab, in charge of Brexit, have decided to leave the ship still ordered by the Prime Minister Theresa May, despite the storm's Brexit Secretary of State Suella Braverman also jumped into the water, just like Labour Ministers Esther McVey and Shailesh Vara, Secretary of State for Northern Ireland, a province of the United Kingdom, whose face is at the head of the problems of divorces with the EU. Last night, it was with cautions that the Prime Minister announced that her government had approved the draft agreement. This is it for tonight news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.